Hey there. Hey there, Jordan Sheridan. It is Monday, May 21st. Very beautiful sunny day in New York City. I am doing well. I hope you're doing well. Let's make sure we're live on YouTube before we get this party started. And my gosh, is there quite a lot of news to tell at the moment. YouTube. Here we go. So, I hope everyone had a lovely weekend. Wait just a minute. Ooh, somebody got an alert that I'm live for a change. Wonderful. YouTube apparently isn't the most dependable in alerting people that journalists are live. I know that a lot of independent media folk have been having problems on YouTube, and my business partner Jen was on the phone with them today. Boy, are they doing as much as they can to screw up independent journalists. So thank you to those who are watching. Press the share button. Get this out to as many people as possible. It is a really busy day in news. I have been running around. By the way, some people have been asking me if I'm doing cocaine. I'm not doing cocaine. All of a sudden, at age 31, I have insane allergies. I've been sneezing nonstop. So if you hear me sniffing like Donald Trump did during the presidential debate, it's not coke, it's allergies. I'm going to go to an allergist because it's out of control. So I get the notification on my phone, but not on my computer. I wish I knew what to tell you. We are in the process of building our own website because we want to live stream on a website so that we could bring you there and not have to depend on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and all these outlets that seem to be making it very difficult for you to see content. So we'll let you know as we get that website up and running. A little public service announcement on this channel. If you've been following for the last few weeks, we've had independent journalist Teresa Joy. She has been on this channel doing some great reporting, focusing on stuff that I don't cover all the time. And now, starting this week, we're going to have another independent journalist. His name is Marcus Ely, and he's going to be joining the channel to do some reporting on his own. He's actually out west in Nevada, and he's done great reporting in the past. I think you're going to really like him. He'll be on live tomorrow, so it'll be myself as usual, Teresa doing her thing, Marcus doing his thing. We all kind of bring different things to light. And as I've always said, there are too many stories being ignored for just me to cover. So I'm glad Marcus is joining. I'll put in his name if you want to check him out. I'll put it in the chat here. Jen is not around at the moment. Ely. Yeah, check him out. He does great work. He's done amazing stuff out in Nevada. I think he did great reporting after the concert massacre of last year, after the corporate media stopped covering it. He was there doing more reporting on that. He's also done amazing stuff on police brutality, economic brutality. He is African American, so I'm very excited to have him on the channel starting tomorrow. And stay tuned later this week. I might have some exciting news for you on my end on a story I've been working on for quite some time. So definitely stay tuned for that. I had to decide what do I want to start with today. There's this Politico piece that is just absurd against Bernie Sanders' political organization, Our Revolution, particularly going after Nina Turner. But I'm not going to start with that. I want to start with the school shooting in Santa Fe, Texas, which in this warped country we live in, it's pretty much off the news already. 10 people were murdered, 8 students, 2 teachers, and they're not covering it as far as I can see. I've had the news on for about 2 hours. The news, CNN and MSNBC, and it's Trump. And part of why this keeps happening is the corporate media is completely derelict in its duty to cover real news. Because in most countries, when you have massacres at schools or concerts or malls or movie theaters, it doesn't just like pop up for a day or two and then like leave the discussion. Like laws are passed, media covers it. In Australia, they had an assault weapons massacre, I think 2 decades ago, like that. Laws were passed, no more assault, no more mass shootings in Australia. But in America, we live in a different system, one based off legalized bribery. So let me give you some of the latest, and definitely share the video. Like I said, YouTube is having its way, not exactly delivering videos to all my subscribers. It's always interesting because you'll get, you know, kind of like 30 to 50 people watching, and then all of a sudden towards the end, I'll get all these extra people watching and they all say we didn't get notifications. So I digress. But here's the latest on the Texas school shooting. Again, Santa Fe, Texas. This was from CNN's website. What we do know, the gunmen opened fire at Santa Fe High School in Texas on Friday. Police arrived on scene and engaged in a shootout that lasted 25 minutes. 10 people were killed, like I said. One of the students killed had rejected the suspect's advances for months. He was identified as Dimitrios Pagortis. I totally mispronounced that. I believe it's Dimitrios Pagortis, 17. He was armed with a shotgun and a .38 caliber handgun. And here's something, I couldn't believe this. Governor's campaign changes gun giveaway after school shooting. I mean, I know it's Texas, but this is absurd. Governor Greg Abbott's re-election campaign has changed a gun giveaway on its website following last week's deadly shooting at Santa Fe High School. The campaign was previously giving away what it called a Texas-made shotgun, but that has now changed to a $250 gift certificate. Oh, how kind of them. How kind of them to change it. You know, most campaigns give away like t-shirts, bumper stickers. The Texas governor, let's give away a shotgun. Maybe that's part of the problem in Texas, you think? You think? So, one thing I found interesting here, let me find it. Oh yeah, so there was a sit-in. There's a student stage a die-in outside the Texas governor's mansion. This was earlier today. Local students staged a die-in Sunday night, outside the Texas governor's mansion in downtown Austin. They are seeking common sense gun laws following Friday's shooting at Santa Fe High School. The die-in went on for 23 minutes, a minute for every school shooting since the school year started. And if you missed it, this is what the Texas lieutenant governor thought was the problem. This is what he thought was responsible and what killed 10 people. I'm sure you've heard it, but I have to play it one more time for you to get the full impact of the idiocy.
We may have to look at the design of our schools moving forward and retrofitting schools that are already built. And what I mean by that is there are too many entrances and too many exits to our over 8,000 campuses in Texas. Over 8,000 campuses. There aren't enough people to put a guard at every entrance and exit. You would be talking 25, 30, 40,000 people. But if we can protect a large office building or a courthouse or any major facility, maybe we need to look at limiting the entrance and the exits into our schools so that we can have law enforcement looking at the people who come in one or two entrances. Schools may have to have their start day. Not all students show up at once so that we don't have every student, there are 1,400 students at this school, trying to get in the door at once. We're going to have to be creative. We're going to have to think out of the box.
Translated, we're going to have to be creative. We're going to have to think outside the box because we can't go against the NRA and our big fat cat donors. I have never in my life heard something that stupid. And by the way, one of the parents of a young woman who was murdered in Parkland was on Meet the Press yesterday. And he commented how stupid this lieutenant governor is. So obviously, the issue is not how many exits and entrances there are at schools in Texas or anywhere else around the country. And by the way, even though the latest massacre was at a school, This is not just a school issue. So by this man's logic, Dan Patrick, the lieutenant governor, what are you going to do? The concert massacre in Nevada that killed 58 people last year, the shooter was coming up from his hotel room, 22 floors up. You're going to put armed guards in everybody's hotel rooms to block the windows? By his logic, you're going to put armed guards all over America? We going to, you want to stagger the way school starts so not everybody shows up at the same time? I mean, it's so ridiculous. And honestly, Ted Cruz, who I was tweeting about as the shooting was happening, Ted Cruz has taken all sorts of money from the NRA. All the Republicans and some Democrats in Texas have taken gobbles amount of money from the NRA. Yet, no, it's not a gun problem. It's how many exits and entrances there are. I mean, give me a break. I don't know how these people stand up with a straight face. You are literally spitting on teenagers' graves with this stupidity. And on a more serious note, I want to tell you who these people that lost their lives for absolutely no reason were, because we don't see enough of this. CNN, MSNBC, they're already back to covering Trump and Russia and bullshit 24/7. Here is one of the young students who was murdered, Angelique Ramirez. Apologies if I'm not pronouncing it right. Angelique Ramirez, 15 years old, was part of the youth ministry at Dayspring Church. Senior Pastor Brad Drake told CNN affiliate she often accompanied her brother to Sunday services at the church she attended with her parents. He described Angelique as a, quote, a sweet young lady who had a style all of her own, and recalled she was often sporting new hairstyles. Her aunt, Sylvia Pritchett, posted on Facebook, "All I know is you will forever be our rainbow baby girl. Every rainbow will represent you, just the same way you lived life and affected everyone who was blessed to be part of your soul's journey. Quote, you touched each and every one of us in so many ways you didn't even know. Rest easy, my angel, forever the rainbow in our lives, a reflection of what love truly is." And I will get back to telling you who each one of these people were, but I just want to point out, and please press the share button, let's get this out to more people. You know, I hate to call out Jake Tapper, who's a CNN anchor, and my business partner, Jen, actually, if I'm keeping it real, he's got a little soft spot for Jake Tapper. I think he's a waste, to tell you the truth. I mean, he's better than like Wolf Blitzer, but that's not saying much. So on Friday, Jake Tapper has Congressman Randy Weber on. Congressman Randy Weber. And Congressman Randy Weber is a Texas congressman who represents this district. Friday is when this horrible shooting happened. So you would think, I have the congressman who represents this high school and that district. Maybe we'll challenge him. Maybe we'll ask him about his $3,000 in NRA donations this year. Maybe we'll kind of press him on the fact that we've had, sorry, I don't have the exact number, but it seems like at least 20 to 25 school shootings this year, and we're only 5 months in. Just maybe. Maybe now's the time to do that. But Jake Tapper says, obviously there will be a time, down the road for us to, literally, I'm paraphrasing, this is basically what he said. He says, obviously, Congressman, there will be a time, down the road to get into, policy prescriptions to stop this heinous activity. But can you share what other lawmakers have told you? I understand you got a call from a congressman from Florida who went through Parkland. What are you, a therapist, Jake Tapper? Or are you a journalist? No. Friday was the time to challenge Randy Weber, Ted Cruz, Louis Gohmert, that wackadoodle, the Texas governor, Greg Abbott, who I'm about to get to in a minute. That is the time to challenge them. Not, excuse my French, pussyfoot around and say, oh, this is a family channel here on CNN. We don't want to actually challenge politicians who are taking blood money from the NRA and allowing our children to be massacred. I mean, what are these people what is their goal? What is even their role as journalists? Not that I'm stupendous. I make mistakes just like the rest of them. But if I had a congressman on that represents this school, that all these people just were murdered, 8 teenagers and 2 teachers, maybe I would actually challenge him, because a quick Google search could tell you how much money he takes from the NRA. Let me get back to sharing with you who some of these people were. Kimberly Vaughn and her mother, Rhonda Hart, seen in this image right here. Student Kimberly Vaughn's mother, Rhonda Hart, initially posted on Facebook that Kimberly was in art class during the attack and said she'd been unable to find her. In a release Saturday, Galveston County District Attorney Jack Rohde confirmed that Kimberly was among the deceased. Kimberly's mother has since updated her Facebook bio with the hashtags Fight for Kim, Kimberly Jessica, and 1 of 10. It's just terrible. I mean, I don't have any words. It's just awful. Cynthia Tisdale was a substitute teacher at the high school, her family told CNN. Her niece, Leah Alindi, said the family was notified of her death Friday night. She was a member of the Anchor Bible Baptist Church in Pharr, Texas. Tisdale's brother-in-law, John Tisdale, said in a Facebook post Friday night. He also said in his post that his sister-in-law's husband, William Ricey Tisdale, is in bad health with a terminal lung disease. The couple has 4 children. 4 children lost their mother for absolutely no reason. Cynthia Tisdale's son, Racey Tisdale, told the Washington Post that his mother loved children and teaching. Quote, "She started substitute teaching because she loved to help children," he told the newspaper. "She didn't have to do it. She did it because she loved it." This is Sabika Shaikh, again, apologies if I'm mispronouncing. The Pakistani embassy in Washington confirmed on Facebook that 17-year-old Sabika Shaikh, an exchange student, was killed in Friday's shooting, and that Ambassador Aizaz Chowdhury had spoken to the girl's father, expressing heartfelt condolences. Miss Shaikh was in Texas as part of the Youth Exchange and Study Program, the embassy said in a statement to CNN. Our thoughts and prayers are with Sabika's family and friends. Her father, Aziz Shaikh, told CNN that his daughter loved to read, that she enjoyed studying U.S. history to learn from the best, and that she wanted to grow up to become a diplomat to make Pakistan proud. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said Sabika was, quote, helping to build ties between the United States and her native country, and offered his condolences to her family and friends. Sabika's death and that of other victims is heartbreaking and will be mourned deeply both here in the United States and in Pakistan, Pompeo said in a statement. Of course, Pompeo and that radical administration aren't going to do a damn thing to help Sabika's family or other families not have this happen again, because they're fake religious people. They're religious, but not if it means taking away the guns and going against the NRA. U.S. Ambassador to Pakistan David Hale tweeted a statement on Sabika's death. This morning, I called the family of Sabika Shaikh and offered my deepest condolences. As an exchange student, Sabika was a youth ambassador, a bridge between our people and cultures. All of us at the U.S. mission in Pakistan are devastated by and mourn her loss. We will honor her memory. Sabika's body will be sent to Pakistan on Monday, according to Pakistan's Consul General in Texas, Aisha Faruqi. Quote, there is a general impression that the life is safe and secure in America, but this is not the case, Aziz Shaikh told AFP. You're damn right that is not the case. It's disgusting. It really is. Chris Stone, a 17-year-old junior at Santa Fe High School, was killed in the shooting. Sister Mercedes Stone said her younger brother was, quote, adventurous and willing to try anything, including parasailing, jet skiing, zip lining, and hiking in the mountains, she said. Chris played football and enjoyed video games. Being a brother was his best job, she said. Although he was the youngest, he definitely protected his sisters as if he was the oldest. He was always there if someone needed someone to listen or cheering up. Chris was, quote, definitely the life of the party and one of the most understanding, open-minded kids I know, Mercedes Stone said. Jared Black, he turned 17 days before the shooting, and he was scheduled to have a birthday party Saturday. Instead, he was one of those killed in Friday's mass shooting, according to his stepmother, Demetra Kilgore. Jared spent a memorable portion of the summer with his dad, 2 brothers, and stepmom in California, according to family friend Elizabeth Ann McGinnis, who is serving as a spokesperson for the family. McGinnis established a GoFundMe account on behalf of the family to help them pay for flights from their home in California for the funeral. McGinnis was with Jared's father when he received the news, she said. His father, quote, sat in misery for 13 hours, not knowing if Jared was one of the victims, she said. Then he got the devastating news after 6 p.m. Shauna Fisher turned 16 just 10 days before she died. Her aunt Erica Fisher Farris said in a Facebook tribute. Shauna was in art class when she was killed. Her family said on social media. Farris said her niece should be doing all the things teenagers do. She should be worrying about getting her driver's license, making plans for summer break, maybe start thinking junior year and making plans for college and what she wants to be when she grows up, Farris said. Shauna had a young sister, her aunt said. Life was not supposed to end like this for our sweet girl, Farris said. Shauna's mother, Sadie Bays, told CNN she keeps expecting her daughter to walk through the front door, but she's never going to walk through the front door again. Other identified victims include Glenda Ann Perkins, a teacher, Christian Riley Garcia, and Aaron Kyle McLeod. And, you know, I'll give credit. CNN has an article about it, but, you know, it's a certain type of, I think, greed to be a media company that is more focused on keeping your ratings going and to keeping your profits going than to save lives. Because journalism can save lives if done correctly. Journalism, if you stay on a story that isn't a one-day story. In America, it's become commonplace where these shootings are a 1-2 day, if you're lucky, 4 or 5 day story. No, it's not normal when people shoot up schools. It's not normal when people shoot up concerts. It's not normal when people shoot up movie theaters. This should be these are monumental events in our country that should have vigils and protests and die-ins and media swarming, not only where it happens, but all these politicians' offices that represent Texas and Nevada and Sutherland Springs, where a shooting happened at a church in Texas last year, I believe, and Aurora, Colorado, Columbine. I mean, we could go on and on and on. Mall shootings. Of course, there's always going to be domestic disputes in America. Gun violence. Occasionally, we can't stop all of it. But it shouldn't shock me, to be honest with you, because I know how bad the media is. That's why I'm trying to start my own media company. But it's really just vile when the exact people that should be in front of Ted Cruz's office right now, who should be in front of Randy Weber, who represents this district, and should be in front of Texas Governor Greg Abbott's office, who, if you're coming to this late, literally his campaign just had to cancel. Yeah, some campaigns give like t-shirts, bumper stickers, buttons. His campaign was giving away a shotgun as a gift to a lucky supporter. I mean, that's not a democracy, folks. That's a wild, wild west shooting range we're living in. And, obviously Ted Cruz has no soul, right? He doesn't actually believe half the shit. He's not a constitutionalist. If he was a constitutionalist, he would have never tried to block Barack Obama from appointing who he wanted for the Supreme Court. I'm not a big Obama fan, but remember, Ted Cruz believes in the Constitution when it's convenient for him. He had no problem blocking Obama from appointing his own Supreme Court justice. Well, the Constitution says President Obama had the right to appoint his own centrist, moderate Supreme Court judge. So, This is going to keep happening because the media allows it to keep happening. Because it's the media's job not only to expose these things and to cover it, but to safeguard the public trust. You can't have a public trust if the public is being massacred. I mean, am I in the Twilight Zone, folks? I mean, I know it's important that, Trump is going off and he's talking about, forcing the Department of Justice to investigate whether there was some, undercover FBI agent doing things to his campaign. I get it. That could be covered alongside this shooting. But it's kind of just like it's like watching a pathetic, emasculated person watching these anchors pretend to be journalists. So on the Sunday shows and today, why does this keep happening? How can we put a stop to it? Even like, this doesn't even deserve asking questions anymore to the politicians because we know the answers. All right, this time it wasn't an AR-15, but it was a shotgun. We have more guns in this country than people. Then they're saying the issue in this case was gun owners not securing their guns. Yeah, that's an issue, but it's not the main issue. But Jake Tapper allowed that to become a talking point in that interview I saw. Unleash the Green says, Jordan, if you get too big, the status quo is going to go after you. You're probably right. You're probably right. Cross that bridge when we get there. Unleash the Green. Help me get bigger. You know how, right behind me. I'm trying to get back on the road to cover a few things, including Flint. Just need a little more funding. So thanks everybody who has supported me. We're at 390 patrons in less than 3 months. So let's keep that going. I already posted a video. If I get to 500 patrons by the end of May, I will come on the air live and do some Jewish rap for you. So that's either a reason not to give me 500 patrons or to give me 500 patrons. But back to serious stuff. Who is fighting for these parents? Who is fighting for these kids who just lost their lives? Who is fighting for the next school that's going to be massacred next week or the week after? Because it's certainly not the politicians. It's not in this case, the Republican Party is way worse than the Democratic Party. But who is their voice? Because it's not CNN. It's not MSNBC. It's not the New York Times. It's not the Washington Post. It's not the Associated Press. And frankly, independent media outlets move on too often and too quick because it's been normalized. But you as the media's job is to not normalize this. You don't normalize massacres. You don't normalize 16-year-olds and 17-year-olds getting shot and murdered where they go to school. I went to my cousin's graduation on Saturday, and in the car up, my mother was like, I think, what do we need to do? I think parents need to just keep their kids home from school all over this country. I mean, there's laws against that, but I think we're at that point now where some serious shit needs to happen. I don't know if it's students collectively just walk out and protest outside their schools, or they all walk out and go to the local city hall or the governor's mansion. What are they going to give them all detention for the rest of their lives? At the end of the day, Trump is going to be president for 4 years or 8 years. Trump is going to give CNN and MSNBC and all these outlets ratings for the time being or the next 7 years. But Trump's going to go away. It's not forever. These kids have lost their lives permanently. These parents have part of their lives, and in some cases, they are dead too. They're the walking dead. I don't have children, but I have spoken with people who have lost children. It's like dying yourself, living on this earth. When someone you gave birth to, or if you're a father, one of your kids, is murdered as a teenager in such a gruesome way. That's not normal, folks. And you know what else the media is failing to do? Report the truth. Took me 5 minutes to find this. Here we go. Oh, of course. Here we go. Swamp Things. Texas Governor Abbott debt to the gun lobby. Wait till you hear about Mr. Abbott. Texas Governor Greg Abbott made no mention of guns at his press conference in Sutherland Springs about 5 hours after a man opened fire during a Sunday morning church service there, killing 26 people and wounding 20. Obviously, this article was written a while ago after that church shooting. Instead, he spoke of the family members killed or injured and asked for God's comfort and guidance for the survivors and loved ones. Because, you know, God and the thoughts and prayers are really, really effective to stop these things. Later, after the shooter's military conviction for domestic violence came to light, Abbott told CNN that David Kelly's request for a permit to carry a concealed handgun had been rejected in Texas, and that because of his prior record of domestic abuse, he should not have been allowed to buy rifles. But ever since he ran for his first Texas legislative seat more than 20 years ago, Abbott has been a steady advocate for expanding Texans' access to guns. He has earned 100% approval rating from the National Rifle Association, and he's proud of it. This was a tweet from him. I've supported gun rights before the campaign began and have an A rating by NRA as opposed to Wendy Davis's F rating. I'll keep Texas free. Well, you certainly kept these 8 children free, didn't you, Mr. Abbott? What Abbott has not mentioned is that he owes part of his rise in Texas politics to the gun lobby. As I always say, follow the money. Back in 2002, 12 years before the NRA publicly endorsed him for governor, the gun lobby used a law enforcement front group to quietly help elect Abbott as Texas Attorney General. Back then, Democrats still held a majority in the Texas State House and in the Texas delegation to Congress. It was a time when the gun lobby was learning how to reach out to other right-leaning groups, forging alliances that predated both the Tea Party and the Trump campaign. It was the beginning of a redistricting or gerrymandering process that has since helped bring the Republican Party in Texas and other states to unprecedented political power. Abbott faced a tight race for Attorney General against Austin's popular Mayor Kirk Watson. Shortly before the election, television ads appeared attacking Watson for allegedly being soft on crime and favoring Abbott, who was then a Texas Supreme Court justice, for supporting, quote, the swift and aggressive prosecution of sexual predators and child pornographers. The ads were signed by the Law Enforcement Alliance of America. Mayor Watson said he had never heard of this group. As I later reported, not me, the author of this piece, as I later reported in the Texas Observer in 2004, it was established in 1991 with a grant from the National Rifle Association and opened offices just 11 miles away from NRA headquarters in Virginia. The Law Enforcement Alliance had a budget of $5 million in 2001. The Alliance's attack ads often favored the same candidates as Texans for a Republican majority, founded by then Texas State House Representative and later U.S. House Leader Tom DeLay. Justice Abbott won the 2002 election by 15 points, the same year that Texas Republicans gained control of the Texas House for the first time since Reconstruction. Attorney General Abbott later approved a Republican-led redistricting plan that soon helped Texas give Republicans a majority in the Senate as well. House Leader DeLay was later tried and convicted of violating election laws, blah, 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 blah. So the point here is the NRA, through a front group, a front law enforcement group that the NRA had funded, the NRA helped elect Greg Abbott for the first time as Attorney General of Texas. Why is it that that very easy to find story is not all over the news right now? Why isn't it all over the news that Greg Abbott has taken all sorts of money from the NRA and other gun manufacturers? Why isn't it all over the news right now that he just had to cancel a gun giveaway, which was a part of, I guess, his re-election campaign? I guess, you know, selling your soul and having blood money from a gun terrorist organization, because that's what the NRA is. Let's just call it what it is. They're terrorists. They don't care who dies. They put out propaganda, and they want profits. They don't care who dies. if human beings get in the way of their profits, they'll do whatever they can to make sure people die. Because, by the way, when these shootings happen, gun sales go up. It's disgusting. Well, the corporate media will stop covering this. I will continue covering it. Before I was let go from TYT, I actually had plans to go on a bit of a gun tour across America. Not going to gun shops, but going to these communities where all these people have been massacred. Like communities like Santa Fe, Texas, Sutherland Springs, Aurora, Colorado, Nevada, where the concert massacre happened. How many school shootings have there been just this year? To speak with the living victims, the friends, the family members, to speak with politicians who do state what the actual problem is. Because the way you stop normalizing this is when you keep covering it. The way you stop normalizing it and when you actually show the value of human lives. Not just, for 2 days talk about it and, these poor kids that lost their lives, and then go back to Trump and Russia. You're spitting in these teenagers' faces as they're being buried. And by not challenging these politicians, you're letting more people die. I don't care if you think that's too strong to say. That's the truth. So whenever I get the funding to do it, I will go on that gun tour. And I will speak with parents. I will speak with kids, even if it depresses me. Because you need to see this. The whole country needs to see this. Do you know, I was in Germany last year. This country is laughed at. People don't understand how we're allowing this to happen. How we devalue people's lives so much that, 10 people die, 8 kids die. It's on the front page for a day, and then we move on. The rest of the world doesn't understand this. And we're a democracy? Declaration of Independence. All men are created equal? Well, first off, we know that's not true. But how can all men be created equal if not everyone has the same right to live? How can people pursue the pursuit of happiness if you're getting your head shot off in art class? It's disgusting. From one story that gets my blood boiling to one more. And again, share this video. And like I said, help me get back on the road. You saw what I did in Virginia. We're still putting up videos from there. I'd like to get back to Flint as soon as I can. I'd like to get to Puerto Rico, which is being ignored. They have a humanitarian and a man-made crisis. Hurricane Maria has devastated that island, and everybody's ignored it and moved on. Well, I don't want to move on. I want to go there and cover it. Help me do it. I'd like to go cover these massacres. So when all the cameras leave, there's actual coverage and attention on it. I just need help. You could do it at patreon.com/JordanSheridan-reports. You could also sponsor specific trips, paypal.me/JordanSheridan. So, of course, now that progressive candidates have started winning, we saw, I think, 3 or 4 progressive candidates win in recent elections. And Bernie Sanders, the most popular politician in the United States, which the Democratic Party and the establishment can't stand. Of course, Politico had to find any angle to attack Bernie Sanders, attack the progressive movement, and in this case, attack Nina Turner. So there was this piece in Politico, Bernie's army is in disarray. Bernie's army is in disarray. That sounds bad. That sounds terrible. And share this video. Let's get it out. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'll give you the main points. So Bernie Sanders, top operatives, formed Our Revolution after he lost the 2016 campaign. Before I read, let me just put some things out there. Number one, from everything I know, and I do know people in Bernie's orbit, Bernie's not involved, really, with Our Revolution. He sends out emails from time to time, but he's not involved with the day-to-day of Our Revolution. Bernie Sanders is, kind of the face of a lot of the ideals, but Nina Turner is the head of Our Revolution. And they have a board of other progressive folk. So even the headline, Bernie's army is in disarray, I mean, they're trying to, find different things to say our revolution is failing and all these things and tie it around Bernie, because that's what corporate media does. Whether it's Washington Post with 16 negative articles about Bernie a day, or Politico finds a reason to be negative about Bernie about every other month, I think. So, they said in an extensive review of the Sanders-inspired group depicts an organization in disarray, operating primarily as a promotional vehicle for its leader and sometimes even snubbing candidates aligned with Sanders. Our revolution has shown no ability to tip a major Democratic election in its favor, despite possessing Sanders' email list, the envy of the Democratic Party, and they could claim no major wins in 2018 as its own. The result has left many Sanders supporters disillusioned, feeling that the group that was supposed to harness the senator's grassroots movement is failing in its mission. The problems have also fueled doubts about Sanders' organizational ability heading into 2020, even after his out-of-nowhere near march to the nomination 2 years ago. Critics of the Vermont Independent had not been worried he'd have a juggernaut in waiting. Critics of the Vermont Independent had been worried he'd have a juggernaut in waiting to fuel a second presidential campaign, but that anxiety has faded watching Our Revolution the past year and a half. Quote, Our revolution is going through growing pains, acknowledged Jane Klebb, the group's treasurer, while arguing that progress is being made. Creating a grassroots organization is different from running a presidential campaign. So, what I find so interesting about this piece, if you want to point out, if Politico wants to point out our revolution's warts or growing pains, that's fine. But when you set this narrative that it's in disarray, and our revolution is really just a front so Nina Turner can, grow her stardom in an effort to run for president, which is in this article, which is total bullshit, by the way. I'll get to that in a minute. Maybe you should, state facts, number one, it's really not, it has nothing to do with Bernie Sanders. He created it to execute his message, which change starts from the ground up. But Bernie's not involved day to day. His involvement is literally writing emails occasionally. But more importantly, this Political article kind of framed it like our revolution's whole being and it's the win-loss on the scoreboard that's showing that they're in disarray or they're not meeting expectations, when our revolution's stated objective and mission is not winning elections. If you read Our Revolution's website, they talk about grassroots organizing. They talk about trying to pass ballot measures. They have been responsible for passing 23 ballot measures. They talk about, coordinating volunteers. They talk about, strengthening email marketing and text alerts. They talk about trying to expand campaign operations, and they have talked in many, many ways about this is not a one-year operation type of thing. They are building a quote-unquote revolution for the long term. So literally the group's been in operation for, I think, less than 2 years. Nina Turner became president less than a year ago, and because they haven't flipped so many elections, apparently they're failing, only in Politico's alternate reality. It's asinine. It's asinine. And by the way, having known, let me find this part which really irked me the most. Here we go. Nina Turner, right. Among the findings of Politico's examination of Our Revolution have raised questions about board members and Sanders presidential delegates from 2016 have raised questions about whether the group's president, Nina Turner, is using her position to prepare for a presidential run of her own and to settle scores with the Democratic National Committee from 2016. Okay, I'll get to that in a minute. 2 weeks ago, the board of directors nixed Turner's attempt to install her personal political consultant and friend as her chief of staff, even though the person had no experience in political organizing and had praised President Donald Trump repeatedly and attacked immigrants on Fox News. I don't know about that. I'm pretty sure Politico's probably taking that out of context or trying to put words in her mouth, but let me move on from that because I don't know enough about it. Monthly online fundraising totals have plummeted to just 1/3 of the group's take a year ago, based on an analysis of proceeding fees reported to the IRS by Act Blue, the tool of Our Revolution uses, and verified by several people familiar with its finances. Our Revolution maintains that it's still running a surplus and that repeat donations are steady. Amid the poor fundraising, Our Revolution earlier this month filed paperwork to launch a PAC, so Sanders can help it raise money directly, and so the group can coordinate directly with campaigns. A founding board member resigned last month, saying Our Revolution wasn't paying adequate attention to Latino candidates and issues of importance to Latinos. So let me get something straight. Nina Turner trying to hire her personal advisor to be her chief of staff or chief of staff for the organization is somehow very, very radical. Like, that happens all the time. Politicians become, executives somewhere, and they want to bring in their own people that they trust, who they've worked with. The consultant or personal advisor she wanted to hire, I have worked with in the past when booking interviews with Nina Turner. She has been with Nina Turner throughout her political career. So to talk about her as some political novice who has no experience in politics is just not true. She might not have experience running a political organization, but she's not running the political organization. She was going to come on as Turner's chief of staff and help Turner execute the mission. It's occasional that people want people with them that they trust. It's, from what I could see, she wasn't taking someone who worked in, the mall to come in as her top advisor. But let's move on from that for a second. Another thing that really they kept trying to push was that Nina Turner is using this for her own ambition. Let's see, let me find it here. Turner's tactics. Both fans and detractors of Sanders pin Our Revolution's problems on Turner, the former Ohio State senator who became the group's president and public face a year ago. Though some sources involved in Our Revolution said she's been an effective spokesperson, several others told Politico they think she's seeking to increase her profile and collect chits, I don't know what chits mean, to run for president herself as the leader of the Sanders movement if the 76-year-old senator ultimately sits out 2020. Quote, based on the amount of time that she has spent doing that outward-facing work, that would be a logical question to ask, said Lucy Flores, the board member who resigned in April. At some point, the question is, do you want to focus on running this organization and making sure it is transparent, building it up, or on raising her profile? You do have to make that decision. This part I found to be the most ridiculous. And I'm sorry, I don't have anything against Lucy Flores, but I think that's ridiculous. Okay, so here's the bottom line. The group is called Our Revolution, not like the Minnie Mouse Club. Our Revolution, right? So you bring in, to me, one of the most charismatic, inspiring, authentic speakers in America. I remember when I was at the Young Turks, I was covering her speaking at the People's Summit. I'm not a religious person, but I was ready to go to church. Nina Turner could bring down a house. And I believe she's authentic. I see nothing in her record or her history to think she's some grifter, faking it. So was she trying to rise her star and become a star when she literally did a political suicide mission, changing her endorsement from Hillary Clinton to Bernie Sanders, pretty much making her persona non grata to the entire Democratic Party when she did that in 2015 and 2016? Was that all about rising her stardom? No, she did it at great risk to herself. But you don't bring on a Nina Turner to run Our Revolution so she could sit in an office and push pencils and just, keep the chains moving. You bring on Nina Turner so she could be the face of the organization. Nina Turner, I won't get into the conversation, but I spoke with her the other day before this article came out. Nina Turner has done more traveling, speaking at more political events and press conferences and speeches and, coming to more areas that are doing activism to try and push progressive policies than anybody else in the country, including, might I add, Bernie Sanders right now, as our revolution president. Not only do I think her being the outward face of the organization is her job, I think she would be derelict of her duties if she was sitting in an office, having meetings all day. Many organizations have presidents or CEOs that don't run the day-to-day minutia of the organization. Other people do that because their role is to be the ambassador for the organization. And Nina Turner has been one badass ambassador. If you follow her Twitter or you follow Our Revolution, I don't know when she sleeps because she's been traveling all over the country for Our Revolution. Not just for Our Revolution, but for ballot measures, for candidates, and for other things. So obviously, a lot of organizations, including progressive organizations, there's egos behind the scenes. Certain people on board of directors don't agree with every little thing. But I don't think, to me, this piece wasn't fair. And by the way, even if Nina Turner, part of her objective was to rise, in public exposure and get more publicity in case Bernie Sanders doesn't run in 2020, what the hell's wrong with that? Is it a crime in America to have ambition if your ambition is backed up by policies that help working people? What is wrong with that? Why is that a bad thing? It's not like she's it's not like she's traveling for Our Revolution and being like, nah, I can't make that rally. I got to go get a mani-pedi. It's absurd. And by the way, would they say this about a man at the helm of an organization? Oh, he's just trying to grow his exposure. I never jumped into the Hillary Clinton sexism mansplaining thing because I think she lost because she's corrupt. But to me, they wouldn't talk about a male this way. But Nina Turner, she's just trying to, grow her stardom so that she could run for president. I'm not cursing today because I'm trying to get certain videos approved so we can advertise some videos, because YouTube has been denying our ability to advertise because apparently you can't say the F word. But I do want to drop a few curses. And by the way, if I found out tomorrow Nina Turner is corrupt and she's done terrible things, I'd be the first one to report it, even though I like her personally. But I don't see any evidence of that, and I don't think anything she has done for Our Revolution has been some selfish play. Screw the organization, I'm going to let it drop by the wayside. No. I think this is a woman who has a gift of mouth. She knows how to inspire people. She knows how to galvanize. And by the way, Our Revolution is dependent on small dollar donations. So are they going to get it by Nina Turner sitting in her office and having meetings all day and making sure all the cogs on the machine are flowing? Or are they going to get it by Nina Turner going all over the country and barnstorming the country for progressive policies? It's ridiculous. And by the way, this piece, it says because they haven't been successful in, none of the candidates they've endorsed have won, which is not true. They basically said they haven't been successful in flipping a close contest for a progressive. Nina Turner said, quote, based on the amount of time that she had spent doing the outward-facing work, that would be a logical question, Lucy Flores said. Asked if she's interested in a White House run, Turner said she's supporting Sanders. I hope he runs again. I am right with him. But what if he doesn't? Turner took a long pause. If he doesn't, we'll see what happens with other candidates. Like I said, what the hell is wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that. A politician being honest, yeah, I want Bernie to run. If he doesn't run, I'm going to keep my options open. I think this piece was trying to find a way to say Our Revolution isn't working. Nina Turner's trying to appoint, unqualified people to be her chief of staff. I don't agree with that. Maybe this figure isn't as qualified as others in pure politics, but maybe the chief of staff role is not going to be responsible for all of the grassroots organizing and things like that. And maybe some of these people that behind the scenes or on the record are criticizing Nina Turner don't like the fact that she's going out barnstorming the country and getting all this attention. Maybe that's part of the reason. I have no idea. But I've never heard a political grassroots organization, I've never heard of the president being attacked for doing political grassroots organizing all over the country. I've never heard that. Every time I see Nina Turner's Twitter, she's out somewhere, giving a speech, rallying with activists. I don't get it. Once we put this video up on YouTube, you'll put the link there. We'll put the article link there. You can dissect it. I saw nothing in it that makes me think our revolution is a complete failure. They have been instrumental in getting 23 ballot measures passed. They've only been up and running for 2 years. Nina Turner has only been president for 1 year. Rome was not built in a day. And if Politico's definition of disarray is every candidate they endorse haven't won, or 40%, as Politico says, 40% of their candidates have won. Is that a disarray when you've been instrumental in passing 23 ballot measures, 40% of your candidates have won? Again, just started 2 years ago. Nina Turner's only been president for 1 year. If that's disarray, sign me up. It's terrible. And as a reminder, I would like to get on the road and cover a lot of these progressive candidates. I would have loved to cover Paula Jean Swearingen's campaign much earlier. I was there that night on the primary when she lost, but she did get 48,000 votes. Help me get back in the field. Your support on Patreon. If you're already a Patreon, tell your friends that are progressive. Tell your parents that are establishment. Check out the videos. I got a lot of semi-establishment, some conservative viewers who say, I don't agree with most things you say, but you're covering things no one else is covering. That's the point. But I need the people. I need the people. Patreon.com/Jordan Chariton Reports. Also, for my Patreon, you're getting a weekly podcast exclusively. You are getting weekly, or a couple times a week, I do personal video diaries where you find out all the behind the scenes. Wait till you hear my diary tomorrow. I got plenty to say. But I can't do it by myself. I'm not self-made. I'm not rich. Help me do it. We're at 390 patrons right now. 390. Can you help me get to 400? End of this week? Or tomorrow would be lovely. Can you help me get to 500? ASAP? Let's do it. I got one more story for you. I got to go after that. So, if you remember, I was covering the Mountain Valley Pipeline. The Mountain Valley Pipeline, as well as the Atlantic Coast Pipeline down in Virginia. These are two natural gas pipelines that are basically going through the Appalachian Trail. They're going through indigenous communities, they're going through poor black communities, and they're going through rural white communities. There is no need for these pipelines. Virginia and West Virginia's existing pipelines are only at half capacity. The only reason they're building these pipelines is so oil companies can make more money by exporting gas. And part of the Atlantic Coast Pipeline last week was halted. Construction was halted as the environmental agencies a judge revoked a permit that was needed for fishing and wildlife. That doesn't mean the whole pipeline is stopped, but one part of construction has been halted. And now part of Mountain Valley Pipeline has been halted. Here we go. Mountain Valley Pipeline construction halted in Virginia amid severe erosion. Ah, damn, where'd you go? Here we go. Following heavy rains, construction at a Mountain Valley Pipeline site in Virginia has been suspended until erosion control measures are established. The Roanoke Times reports the Virginia Department of Environmental Quality is investigating how dams and other measures failed to stop last week's rain from sweeping away soil unearthed by heavy equipment in Franklin County. Both lanes of a nearby road were covered up by 8 inches, 20 centimeters of mud. Department spokesperson Ann Reagan called the mud flow clearly unacceptable. She says the pipeline's concrete barriers had completely disappeared. Pipeline spokesperson Natalie Cox asserted the controls were installed properly, but were affected by unusual circumstances. Yeah, of course. Well, let me tell you about those unusual circumstances, because I went down there. I was there 2 weeks ago. There's plenty of videos up on the channel. Definitely watch those videos, share those videos. They are building the Mountain Valley Pipeline on some of the steepest slopes in the United States. Some of the steepest slopes on mountains throughout the United States, in the Appalachian Trail and national forests. So when you build on a steep slope and you don't have proper erosion control, which most of the pipelines don't, you get dangerous ass mudslides sliding down mountains where people live, causing all sorts of havoc for driving and other things. But because the oil companies buy off the politicians, they're handing out permits like hotcakes. They don't do a stream by stream analysis, which environmental groups and residents have asked the governor to mandate, go water body by water body and do an analysis of how these pipelines will affect the water. But there's going to be continued mudslides like this, which is one of the first things people on the ground told me is their biggest fear, because these slopes are very steep. I could tell you, and Jen could tell you, because we were walking up some of them, and I just had back surgery, and I felt it for about a week after. So, not only was there mass mudslides going on all over the place, halting construction, but just this morning, there's a new pipeline protester taken to the skies. That is an image of a woman named Fern McDougal. She climbed up a very, very tall platform, 30 inches up in the air, and it's hard to see, but she is connected by 2 trees with a long wire. I don't know what she's standing on. At first I thought it was a mattress, but now it kind of looks like a platform. And she's up there, and she claims she ain't coming down. And she joins, she's about 2.5 miles further up the Jefferson National Forest in Virginia, where from Nutty, who is another protester who has been up on a pole since March 27th, so almost 2 months. And the U.S. Forest Service has been denying Nutty water and food that is coming in donating. I interviewed an attorney who sued the National Forest Service because they are denying Nutty, who has been up there since March 27th, medical attention and a medical, what do they call it? A medical look by a doctor. They are denying her water. She is literally going like that, trying to drink rainwater as it comes down. This is what they're doing. No food, no water, and basically they're blaring loud music, and they're trying to keep people away from her that have come in from all over the place to support her. People are camping there. People are coming every day. The Forest Service is basically trying to physically and mentally torment her in America. But now there's a new protester. Let me read a little bit about this for you. The latest aerial blockade of the Mountain Valley Pipeline went up Monday morning in Giles County. A woman protesting plans to build the natural gas pipeline through southwest Virginia is positioned on a platform about 30 feet above the ground that is suspended from ropes anchored to trees in the Jefferson National Forest. The configuration is strung across Pocahontas Road, which Mountain Valley officials had planned to use to reach a construction site, according to a news release from Appalachians Against Pipelines. Identified in the news release as Fern McDougal, the protester said her goal is to prevent environmental damage that pipeline opponents have warned against during the more than 3 years leading up to construction of the massive 303-mile pipeline. Quote, cutting through delicate karst topography and 300 miles of contiguous forests and family farms seized by eminent domain, MVP threatens to damage the health and well-being of poor and oppressed communities along the pipeline route by threatening the air, soil, and water, the release quotes McDougal as saying. The latest blockade is the second to obstruct Pocahontas Road, which leads from Clandinin Road near Narrows to the top of Peters Mountain, where the pipeline will cross under the Appalachian Trail on its way through the National Forest. A woman known as Nutty has been occupying the first blockade, a platform suspended from a 50-foot pole in the middle of the gravel road, since March 28th. McDougal's position is about 2.5 miles up the mountain from Nutty's location. Forest Service officials have closed Pocahontas Road to the public, citing the dangers associated with pipeline construction, aka keeping people away from the oil company that the Forest Service protects. Since tree cutting for the project begins in February, at least 9 officials have occupied tree stands or other aerial blockades in 5 locations along the pipeline's route through Monroe County, West Virginia, and the Virginia County of Giles, Roanoke, and Franklin. Some have come down rather than face fines or legal action, but at least 4 remain in their posts. Mountain Valley officials could not be immediately reached Monday. In the past, they have said that the activities of obstructionists have not affected the timing of the construction project, which calls for the pipeline to be in use by the end of this year. Well, there you have it. I think that it is a sad state of affairs in the United States when literally people have to take to their trees, have to make mock platforms 30 feet or 50 feet in the air and go climb up there, go sit up there and protest to stop their property and their forests and their water and their land from being destroyed so that an oil company can export gas to foreign countries. So I say the more the merrier. If you have the courage, if you have the physical strength to absorb, Nutty absorbed freezing temperatures at the end of March and is now going to be absorbing really hot temperatures up there. And they're not going, and you cannot go up there with enough water to last months. And the Forest Service or the Roanoke Police are not allowing food and water to come up to them, and they are denying them medical care. So these are American heroes, in my view. And if you want to know more about the day-to-day of what's going on with these protests, let me get the page up for you. Against pipelines. Definitely check out this Facebook page. It's called Appalachians Against Pipelines. Here you go. And they have updates throughout the day and week to give you updates on Nutty and now this new protester. It's an environmental group down there, and I think they're doing great work. But I will continue covering this. The whole Mountain Valley Pipeline has not been stopped. But part of it, construction has been halted because, of course, the oil company didn't put enough erosion control in. And we're going to start seeing more of this. There's going to be leaks that contaminate ground wells and contaminate water bodies, and hopefully they'll stop construction then. But really what needs to happen is this Democrat governor, Ralph Northam, needs to wake the hell up. He needs to wake up and smell the not yet contaminated water. Not yet that we know of. Because it is very clear that this pipeline is dangerous. It is very clear that you should not be building a pipeline that could explode under forests and reservoirs and people's homes. This Democratic governor, Ralph Northam, who Tom Perez and the DNC kept sending me emails about last year, we got to keep Virginia blue. We got to elect Ralph Northam, who became governor last year. They kept telling me, oh, he's progressive. Well, show that you're progressive. Protect the forest. Protect the water. And protect the people. They're having to go up and protest on trees and poles in freezing or hot temperatures and be deprived water and food so that you and your donors can stay in power? You and your donors can make money? Are you a politician or a puppet? Terrible, terrible, terrible. If you came to this late, tomorrow there's going to be a new journalist starting on this channel, Marcus Ely. He'll be going around 4 o'clock Eastern, I believe. Definitely come back at 4 o'clock Eastern. I think he's awesome. He's done some reporting before at a previous organization I had, and he is definitely going to bring a whole new perspective and whole new stories to this channel. Marcus Ely. So definitely come back at 4 o'clock, and definitely, if you haven't watched the latest reporting, watch the videos from Virginia, from West Virginia, of my interview with the attorney who's suing the Forest Service. You watching, you sharing, and you helping me fund this soon-to-be company will be what helps us get this off the ground. Status quo. Remember, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get status quo up the ground. We need to boost the Patreon. We need to boost funding. We need to boost everything. We just passed 13,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is great after just 3 months. We need to do better. We need to grow faster. Help us do it. If you can't spare a few bucks, that's fine. Share the videos and let other people know this channel exists and we're doing original reporting no one else is. If you can subscribe, I'm not using this money on fancy dinners. I'm using it to get out in the field, do original reporting no one else is doing, and hopefully build a company that could do this on a grander scale. Thank you for watching. Peace.